Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBears Casino. TK joining us here on this Wednesday morning edition in this rainy Baton Rouge over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. Stop by Tremonti's Meat and Seafood today, right off of Airline Highway near Parkview Baptist. I'm at an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Go to lasportshall.com. A lot going on. A golf tournament, celebrity golf tournament at Oak Queen Country Club in Alexandria on the 14th of May. Big party the night before on the 13th. And then June 20th through 22nd is the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. 7 events over 3 days. Going to be jam-packed. A lot of fun up in Natchitoches for the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame induction. So go to lasportshall.com for that. And we're presented by LeBears Casino, where LeBears on Monday night was rocking for the national championship game, but UConn completely dominated outside of the first 5 minutes. UConn ran away with it, has made a case now, back-to-back national championships for UConn. As UConn, the way they were so dominant, have been so dominant going back to last year with double-digit wins in the NCAA tournament, made a case to be one of the best teams of all time as far as how dominant they were in the postseason. The Bears at the sports book, a lot of activity, but they had with all the different platforms and all the ways, all the metrics that you can measure watching national championship games. I saw one study that said that there were over 18 million people on all the different platforms that watched the women's national championship game between Iowa and South Carolina, and just over 14 million who watched the men. That's not normal. That's not normally the case. That's the Caitlin Clark effect.
Well, that's the first time in history that men's championship game was, had less viewers than the women's. Yeah, that's Caitlin Clark moving the needle. South Carolina being undefeated, moving the needle. There's a couple of reasons there. So the thing will be, can they sustain that? Well, next year's tournament, there's some other young stars in the league. Coach Staley, Coach Mulkey. You got other figures that people are connected with. Women's basketball now. So it'll be curious to see how that goes in the future.
By the way, Drew Brees at the game, cheering on his Purdue alum. Of course, Drew, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame class this summer, June 20th through 22nd, joining the likes of Doug Cormier and Simone Augustus. Simone Augustus, by the way, going into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, the big one up in Springfield, Massachusetts. It's an obvious one that Simone Augustus is going into the National Basketball Hall of Fame. But congratulations to Charles Smith. Charles Smith of Peabody High School in Alexandria, legendary high school coach, the winningest basketball coach in the state of Louisiana history. Just won, I think, his 9th state championship this year. He's 70-plus years old. He got inducted into Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame back in 2019. Charles Smith going into the National Basketball Hall of Fame. So that is a big, big thrill. Talked to him on Saturday, and he was just super excited. So congratulations to him. What a gentleman he is. Masters Week, we'll talk about that. LSU baseball gets back in the winning column in a big way. 16-0. They knocked off McNeese yesterday in 7 innings. How about that new speedy leadoff guy that LSU has hitting at the top of their lineup? Jared Jones, who looks more like a linebacker than he does a baseball player. Hits 3 home runs last night and had a double in a big win over McNeese. Not your normal lead-up 1-2 punch. Jones, White, neither one of them are going to scare you in a foot race, although Tommy White did pick up his 2nd stolen base of the season yesterday. That was wild, Tommy.
It really was. And, we talked the other day about maybe it's time to pull the batting order out of the hat, the old famous trick. And it almost looks like he did that with Jones leading off. When I got the sort of thing on Twitter and I saw the lineup like they always post about an hour before first pitch, I was shocked. I'm like, well, he's trying to get their attention, and this will get their attention. So, and it worked. McNeese, who's been struggling a little bit lately. But, Justin Hill does a good job with that program. So, but yeah, he got their attention, and Jones hits the bombs. The thing's going to be, here's the question, right? Will he lead off Friday night in Knoxville?
Yes. Yeah.
You think? You betting on that?
You don't mess with a guy who had 4 hits.
Yeah.
3 homers. You just do exactly the same thing. First time LSU player has hit 3 homers at a game since Leon Landry did it in 2009. The Baker High product, who was a part of that national championship team, did it 3 times at Mississippi State. I think it was the last weekend series of the year. And so, I mean, amazingly, it hasn't been done in 15 years. Think of all the great players that LSU's had. I would have thought that somewhere along the line, someone would have a 3-homer game. That has not been the case. And I'm really surprised, quite frankly, he didn't maybe even have a 4-homer game. Now, they did get a chance to bat in the bottom of the 7th, 8th, and 7th or 8th because of the 10-run rule. Who knows? He might have had a 4-homer game. That's never happened in LSU baseball history. But he had a 3-2 pitch. Fastball right down the middle, 91 miles an hour, and he just got beat. I mean, it was a hittable pitch right at his thighs, right down the middle, and he struck out. That was his only out of the game. So I think he was as surprised as I was. He swung and missed it. But great bounce back win for LSU. They take on a very big challenge. Tennessee's 4th in the country. They've been on fire lately. They've had 4 10-run rule wins in SEC play, including 2 this past weekend. So they are tough in that little bandbox. Ball will be flying, and so we'll see if Jones and White can keep it going. There's a couple other guys getting close to that double-digit home run mark. Jones has 14, White 11. Travinsky and Bingham both have 8, so they're getting close to joining them in that double-digit category. The Pelicans, big giant win for the Pelicans last night on the road. They take care of not a giant in the sense of who they beat, but they got a big win against a bad team in Portland. But the biggest thing is that the Suns lost, and so now the Pelicans are in 6th place in the West, which is so important because if you're in that top 6, you don't have to do the play-in game. 1 game, full game ahead of Phoenix. With 3 games left to play. Now, all 3 games left are good teams that the Pels have to play, and 2 of them on the road. One of them's at home on April 14th, 2:30 in the afternoon against the Lakers. So they got their work cut out for them. They're probably not going to go 3-0, probably at best 2-1. And you just got to match whatever Phoenix does.
But Ingram has returned to some limited workouts, so I'm thinking they want to save him for playoff time, make sure he's good to go. But he has begun to do some basketball activities, according to what I read. So, yeah, hey, they're on this little West Coast swing thing now, a couple more games, and then back home to finish it up. So, Pelicans are going to be a playoff team. It's just which slot, and they can control their own destiny at this point with that Phoenix loss last night.
LSU spring game on Saturday. We'll talk more about it on Sports Shorts Radio from 10 to noon on Saturday. We'll even have a couple special guests tell us what to expect in that spring game. One thing you won't see in the spring game, Tommy, is a lot of running of the football. The Tigers only with 2 scholarship running backs, this spring. The rest are walk-ons, so they're not going to do anything to kind of either get those guys injured or tired too much. So at least that'll be fun from a standpoint of they'll throw the ball around a lot. The Masters, before we get to the Masters, and we'll get to talk about that the rest of the way, John Calipari still continues to be the big story. The contract hasn't been signed yet. The details, he did acknowledge that, hey, look, I am leaving Kentucky. I'm going to Arkansas. They're just working on the details. And so the merry-go-round begins. Who will be the next Kentucky coach? We know it won't be Hurley from Connecticut. He said, my wife would divorce me if I move, and it's going to cost me half my stuff, so I'm not doing that. So he's staying at Connecticut. Everybody thought maybe they might make a run at him, and of course, they should ask. So nothing's been done yet, but you have some thoughts on the John Calipari decision to leave Kentucky at 65 years old.
Well, Roddy, for the first time in history, the women's championship game outdrew the men's TV ratings, okay? So here's the other mind-boggling thing. You got a lot of people telling Kentucky they're not interested. 15 years ago, nobody's telling Kentucky they're not interested. But you've got Jay Wright, who said he's going to stay in TV, won a national title at Villanova. You mentioned Hurley. Nate Oates at Bama said, no, I'm committed to Bama. I mean, people are turning Kentucky basketball down. Ronnie, that's something we would have never said a mere 15 years ago, and certainly before that. So that shows the landscape of college basketball, that they're turning it, that people are turning Kentucky down. Now, they're going to get somebody. There's no question about it, obviously. It's just how big of a name do they get or not get? That remains to be seen. And, of course, they're in the Southeastern Conference, so LSU fans will be paying attention. And It's been, I've seen it now once or twice. A dark horse, Will Wade, the former LSU coach who had a great year at McNeese. I don't think he gets the Kentucky job, but he's probably glad his name's even somewhere on the list for the future. And I'm just surprised Will Wade hasn't been contacted by Louisville or some of these other schools, because he went 30-3, made the tournament with the McNeese State Cowboys. I don't think he's going 30-3 next year at McNeese. So you got to strike where the iron's hot. But if he's that good of a coach, you know, he'll win 22, 24 games at McNeese next year, and then maybe go somewhere else. So maybe, I mean, if his wife and kids are loving Lake Charles, maybe he hangs around.
No, I agree with you, Tommy, that the whole idea that people are telling Kentucky no is surprising. I'll put it, but the landscape is surprising for, I think, a couple of reasons. One, the money is so big now. You know, it used to be you go to Kentucky because, yeah, you got the chance to win, but also there was going to pay a lot. It pays a lot everywhere. I compare the Kentucky thing to Texas baseball when they hired Dave Pierce, whatever that was, 7 years ago or something like that. Maneri was even, you know, offered. They flew in and met with Maneri, made a big offer, and LSU was able to give him a raise, and he stayed. David Pierce ended up being like their 9th or 10th option to be the head coach of the University of Texas. And University of Texas, from a baseball standpoint, is by far a top 10 job in the country, and in my opinion, a top 5 job in the country. And so they should have been like Kentucky basketball in the sense that they have the pick of the litter. They ask you, you say, yeah. Maybe one guy says no because you ask, you know, Paul Maneri or something like that at LSU, and he's not going to leave LSU for Texas maybe. But they had to get far down the list, and that's because schools now have so much money, and coaches want not only money, but they want guarantees and they want comfort. You know, Dan McDonald stayed at Louisville instead of taking the Texas job because they gave him like a 10-year, $10 million deal, and he wanted just the guarantee, and they wanted to have the nice life. And you know, you get put in a blender if you go to Texas. If you're the basketball coach of Kentucky, you know, you get fired. I mean, they wanted to run John Calipari out with everything he's done. Wasn't good enough. You know, when you're at LSU, the bar is so high at those mega programs. The expectation is so high at those mega programs. I think there's more coaches now making decisions for mental health reasons. And I mean, I'm making $3 million a year. Yeah, I can go make 4 over there, but how miserable is that 4 going to be where I can make 3 here and stay here forever, and they're going to build a statue of me? I think that goes into the decision.
There's no question about that. The long-term contract, you know, the guaranteed money. I mean, you know, you got to get it when somebody offers it to you. And I think a lot of these coaches, you know, they got families and they got assistant coaches. I mean, there's a lot of stuff involved. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the money. It's the guaranteed contract. It's the comfort. You know, could Will Wade end up being comfortable with he and his family in Lake Charles? And if that's the case, no, he's not going to make $5 million a year, but he'll be comfortable, okay? And he'll, you know, make a run at the Southland title every year or two, you know? So that's what it's all about.
The Masters, the 88th Masters, they're going to be dealing with this weather that we're dealing with right now. Going to be dealing with it tomorrow as it makes its way across the country. Scotty Scheffler, the big-time favorite, as well he should be. Although Scheffler and Burns both a little bit distracted this week.
Yeah, they got babies due on the way, whatever. You know, if they get that text message, you know, I don't know. I haven't read that they said they would leave. Both of them are due after the Masters, but we know in the world the baby could come before its due date. We understand that, but I bet on Scotty Scheffler. You got your volumes on. There you go. Now you're back. No, so I bet on Scotty Scheffler plus 350 to win the Masters. He's the betting favorite. Hunter McCann of Sports Shorts Radio said he got it at plus 400. So we'll see how that goes. I've been watching a lot of the coverage from the Masters each and every day in the morning on Peacock, and I always get amped up for the Masters. I mean, it's the Masters. We all know the story. It's the only major that plays the same course. You got the whole Tiger Woods story. Can McIlroy complete the career Grand Slam, which has only been done by 6 people? You know, Patrick Reed, that's my dark horse. That's my sleeper. Patrick Reed, who is a Masters champion. But he hasn't played great lately. Bubba Watson, multiple Masters champion, hasn't played great lately. But you can't count those guys out when they go to Augusta. So I'm betting on Scheffler. He's the favorite. And my sleeper is Patrick Reed.
Tiger Woods has been practicing. They anticipate that he is going to play. He said he's in pain every day at his press conference that, look, he's just learning to live with it. But he's out there trying to win. Like, he's not out there just trying to make the cut, just trying to do the best he can. He's out there to win. Who was it? Freddie Couples said he saw him on Monday in the hitting the ball, and he said he didn't miss a shot. He was hitting the ball perfectly every time. So, yeah, he might be in pain. Yeah, he hadn't played in a while, all that stuff, but he's still Tiger Woods. He's still confident. And Freddie Couples said he looked great on Monday.
Well, and here's the other thing about Tiger. I'm going to go back. He won the U.S. Open. I want to say it was at Torrey Pines when he actually had a broken leg. And I remember reading the commentary that he, in his mind, he's got the strongest mind to ever play golf. He knew that he could hit the ball and the pain wouldn't come until after contact when he hit the ball. So in his brain, he said, okay, let's hit the ball, then I'll endure the pain. And he won the U.S. Open. I think Rocco Mediate was the runner-up that year. So, I mean, this guy's got the mental thing. Like, he's showing up. He's in Augusta. He'll tee off tomorrow. His intent is to win the tournament, not make the cut or do well or make an eagle on 13. I mean, his intent's to win. It always has been since he was an amateur. He's showing up to win, not to be second, not for the ceremonial tee shot or for everybody to give him the big ovation when he walks up to the 18th. He ain't there for any of that. He's there to win. Now, he's plus 50,000. That's the odds on him to win. So if you had $100, it'd be wasting 100, I think. But, I don't know. It's I don't think you should bet it. But if somehow he's in the story on Sunday, it'd be amazing. It would break all those TV rating records that we saw with the women's basketball and the men's. Those would be minor compared to what it would be if Tiger would be somehow in the conversation when it got to Sunday.
I think more the better bet is, will he make the cut or not? And then another bet is, will he finish the tournament? Will he just DNQ type of thing? And as far as like take himself out because after a day or two he can't walk, he's in too much pain or discomfort. But I think the bet is whether he makes the cut or not. And let me ask you, Tommy, do you think he makes the cut?
I'm going to say yeah, because he's won there 5 times. He's got so much course knowledge, and he was there a couple of weeks ago. He's been there this week. And there's really no pressure on it because if he goes out Thursday, he shoots 75. Nobody's going to say, man, you had a bad day. They're just going to say, okay, you're in pain, whatever. So I think I'm going to go, yeah, he makes the cut. Now, I don't think he'll be a factor come Sunday afternoon, but I think he'll make the cut simply because of his experience on that golf course. And there's only 89 golfers in the field. Okay, so it's not like it's the full field of 144 or 156 golfers, which most tournaments have. So, yeah, to answer your question, I think he makes the cut. And you can bet that at the sportsbook at LeBaire.
That's right. Jon Rahm, who, of course, is now on the LIV Tour, one of the greatest golfers on the planet. I know you're interested to see how much LIV PGA Tour conversation there is on the actual broadcast on CBS that the Masters controls. But one thing that you can't control is Jon Rahm. And he said last week, said again this week, he wants the LIV Tour to consider playing 72 holes instead of 54. Why?
Well, he wants it to be more like golf. He talked about at this year's Phoenix Open where you were present. He lives in that area. And he talked about he drove past the Phoenix Open wherever he was going that day. And it kind of hit him like, wait, that's a PGA Tour event. Look at all the people, 72 holes, all his friends out there playing, the people he loves to compete against and with. I mean, it kind of hit him. And I think he had a little revelation, like maybe, he took the reported 350 million, changed his life, generational wealth. His grandchildren who aren't born yet won't have to worry about money. But I think he's backing it up a little bit. And he, like many, including Rory McIlroy, said they wish they'd figure out a way to put this all back together. Something tells me they will. I just don't know when.
Don't know when and don't know how. What does put that back together look like? Does it allow LIV to have its events. Hey, we're going to let you guys have 12 live events, and we're going to make sure they're on non-PGA weekends. And then, I don't know. I don't know what put back together looks like unless PGA gets the benefit from some of that money, right? Like if it's PGA sanctioned or endorsed, that PGA gets, maybe it's, hey, PGA, you're going to get 20% of the revenue from these live events for you approving it, and these people being able to get FedEx points or whatever the case may be. We'll give you 20% for doing nothing. And we're going to have 12 events, and they're going to be, or 10 or whatever the number is. There are events. We get 80%. We give you 20. You sanction it, and our guys are able to go back and forth. Maybe it's something like that.
It's all going to boil down to money. Money will either be the reason it gets together or it doesn't get together. And the PGA Tour just got a big infusion of capital. It's big private funding, that's saying they don't need to live money. But I think the game of golf needs it to be back together. I do, being a longtime golf fan and a golf enthusiast. I believe they need to figure it out. I just don't know that they can.
Yeah, I don't know either. And here's the
thing. Because of money.
Here's the thing is that I don't begrudge the players for going to the live tour. You got two groups of players. You got the ones that are at the end of their career, and this is just an easier way to guarantee a payday. And guarantee lots. And then you got others that they're just blowing them out the water, like a Jon Rahm, or they're blowing them out the water with Bruce, like a Koepka. They're giving them so much money, they can't say no. You'd be a fool to say no. It's kind of like Caitlin Clark. Yeah, she'd like to play in the WNBA, but if it's down to $100,000 a year or $5 million to play in the 3-on-3, like what is there to think about? So, that's where we're at with this live thing. And the PGA can survive without it. They're just not going to be able to survive to the level that they're used to survive. The PGA wants to have the best players on the planet, no questions asked for their events. And now there's going to be questions asked. You're not going to have the best players on the planet. You're going to have 95% of the best players on the planet or 90% of the best players on the planet, but you're not going to have 100%. And
well, the other problem is the television. I mean, Live does not have a TV contract. It's a streaming thing, which half the world streams now. Anyway, this show is a streaming thing. Okay, Sports Shorts Daily is a streaming thing, and we appreciate folks that listen and like and share and watch and all that good stuff. But that's the other layer in this whole thing of it possibly getting back together would be, can TV relinquish some of it, would PGA Tour relinquish some TV money, or does another TV platform step in, linear TV as opposed to streaming?
All right, well, TK and I'll be back on Friday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily. By then, we'll have round one in the books of the golf tournament of the Masters, and we'll kind of be able to talk about that a little bit. TK's over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Tell us about it.
Yeah, lasagna is the lunch special today. The weather's bad. A lot of people not going to be out and about, but come on out and get some lasagna. It's grandma's recipe. It's really good. All your meat, seafood, your catering, all your liquor and wine that you need, everything at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. They got boiled crawfish. They got live crawfish. You can plan something for the weekend. Weather's supposed to be nice on the weekend. Do check out Tremonti's Meat and Seafood on Facebook and Instagram.
All right, special thanks to L'Auberge Casino, our presenting sponsor. Always the place to go watch all the live sporting events. Pelicans back in action Thursday night at Sacramento. Tough place to play, good team. Big game. You can go to L'Auberge, eat a little dinner, watch all the events in the sports book. For Tommy, I'm Ronnie. Please like and share this, and we will see you Friday morning. Have a good one and stay dry.